The first question is, okay, ma'am. Actually, what I want to ask you is, what made you or what inspired you to become an author, ma'am? Usual question.
So actually, I used to write from my childhood years. Like I think my earliest things are like from when I was 8 years age or something. Poetry I have written and all is still there. Um, but as a career, I never thought of writing as a career. In fact, I have completed my chartered accountancy. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and I did my education from Chennai. Then after I got married, I shifted to Mumbai. And when I shifted there, it was a new place. I was adjusting to the place. So and then very soon I had become pregnant too, and all that. And since I was confined at home, I was doing more writing than before because I wasn't doing anything else at that time. And then I started sending out to some newspapers and to some magazines my writing, and it started getting published. And I think after that, I started thinking of it more seriously. And that's how it went into, yeah, I went into the stream of
Wow,
writing.
very nice, ma'am. And the next question is, though there are different genres, ma'am, why did you choose crime? Do it have any specific reason, ma'am?
Uh, the truth is, I didn't choose crime or anything like that. I just wrote the story. So I didn't think that I'm going to write a crime fiction. When I started writing, I didn't think anything like that. I was just writing a story. And after I wrote the story, and I had, the very first reader who read it, it was a beta reader who read the book. And it was she who said that, your story actually fits into the genre of psychological crime thriller. You know, till then, I never had that idea of, as a genre. I was only telling the story, and that's how it is.
It's a very nice book, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the next question is, as you know, women writers are now taking the lead in crime fiction writings. What is your observation on that, ma'am?
I think one of the reasons for this, the main thing is that initially when men used to write, men when they write crime fiction, I think they concentrate more upon the crime, upon how the police, what do they do to detect the crime, how is, it's more of a detection based, or it is more of an adventure based. They are chasing the criminals and then there's a fight. And I think as a genre, I think when women started writing crime, they were focusing more on the victims, the emotions, the feelings. Why is the crime happening? So even with Birds of Prey, if you notice, it's not a who did it. It is more of how did they do it? Why did they do it? So I think this kind of a shift is something which resonated very strongly with the readers. And that's why I think women writers have now taken a more of a lead in comes to, with crime fiction. In fact, very surprisingly, one thing was that like J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. So when she wrote Harry Potter series, they told her, "You're writing about a boy, a boy hero. So if you're going to write with the, as is the in your own name, people may not accept it. So you just don't write your full name. Just write it as J.K. Rowling. Then they will not know whether it is a girl or a boy. So then they will be more accepting of the book. And let's not show that you're a woman. Male writers are more successful or whatever. That's what the publisher told her, and that's why she started writing as J.K. Rowling. Now, recently, there is this male author who writes crime fiction. He's called J.P. Delaney. And when he was writing, they told him women writers are more successful. So don't show that you're a man because they may not read your book. So they told him, shorten your name and just write it as J.P. Delaney instead of writing your full name, to show who you are so that your book sells. So a male, now it's changed so much that
Yes,
women
ma'am.
crime
It's
writers are
changed.
so successful, so that a male has to change his name and write without showing who he is. So that's very nice, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, do you really think literature creates an impact in the society, especially crime writings?
Definitely. I think, I think literature, especially with crime fiction, especially, I would say it holds a mirror to society. It shows mirror, this is what, in the mirror, that this is what you are. Usually, whenever, you talk about crime, you always try to, even when you see it in the newspaper, you're like, it doesn't happen here. It happens somewhere else. It will not happen in a family like us, or in my locality. It will not happen. My locality is very safe. My surrounding is very safe. My home is safe. And I think when you read literature, it kind of shows a mirror and shows you that, it's not very safe, or it's not exactly what things seem to be. Anything can happen to anyone at any point of time. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Earlier, crime fiction writing was seen as a popular fiction, ma'am, but recently it has started a serious literature. Do you agree with it?
Um, I first of all will not agree with the definitions of popular fiction, serious fiction itself. In truth, I would say, uh, what is seen as popular fiction in a particular period of time is now seen as classics. We call them as English classics. But when they were written, people said this is just popular fiction. This has no literary merit. For example, Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton, the famous author who has written more than 300 books for children. Earlier, when she used to write those books, children were told, please don't read this. This is rubbish. There is no literary merit in this. Don't read these books. Okay. And now we would be very happy if our child reads Enid Blyton. We would be like, wow, such good literature. My child is reading such a good book. So who is to say what is popular fiction or what is crime fiction? Or I think that whole distinguishing doesn't work. It is not true also. The definition of literature or definition of serious literature is changing every day. What is seen as literary is not necessarily literary later on.
Exactly, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Though crimes are happening in many parts of the country or world, do you think Mumbai is a hotbed of crimes? And your choice of Mumbai, why did you choose Mumbai as your?
First thing is, I would like to, say that Mumbai is probably the most safest city in entire India. Okay, I don't think there is any other city in our country where a woman can take a taxi at 12 at night and say that she will reach home safe. It is possible only in Mumbai. Mumbai is probably the most safe city in our country. And I don't want my books to have that impression that Mumbai is a hotbed of crime. It's not. It's a very, very safe city. It's very safe for women. And I think it's one of a wonderful city when compared to most of the other cities in our country. Now, when it comes to, why I usually write my stories surrounding Mumbai, is because I know only two places, two places which are close to my heart. I have lived in Chennai and I have lived in Mumbai. In Chennai, I'm always very pampered. I grew up there. So I was a child over there. So it's a very pampered kind of a thing. I never traveled alone in any public transport in Chennai. I have, I've never worked in a job in Chennai. It's a very pampered thing. Even now when I come on a visit to Chennai, I'm always pampered. I've never explored the city on my own or, faced anything over there or done anything over there. But when it comes to Mumbai, I had to, literally fend for myself in that city. I had no support system or anything. So I have traveled in the buses, I've traveled in the trains, I have held a job for the first time, earned money for the first time over there, met strangers, spoke to them, became friends. I didn't know the language also. So when I went to Mumbai, I knew very little Hindi, which cannot be called as Hindi itself. Nobody would be able to understand what I spoke then. But I can speak very fluent Hindi now. And so I think it's a city where I grew up. It's a city where I discovered myself. It's a city which treated me like an adult, So Mumbai is something like it's in my head, in my heart, in my blood. It's my city. So and that's the only reason why my stories revolve around the city. It's my city. It's what I discovered. So and not for any other reason. Definitely not a hotbed of crime or anything.
Because usually the recent writers are choosing Mumbai as their place, ma'am, for crime fiction.
Oh,
So you
okay.
also did the same. Just I want to know the reason.
I think it's because those writers are from Mumbai. Maybe
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would say that's what they are from Mumbai, and again they are familiar with the city, so probably they write over there. But if you go to Gurgaon, maybe the crime rates are much higher over there. If you go to Gurgaon, or if you go to maybe somewhere in Bihar or something else, probably the crime rate is much higher over there. So not true.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. What do you think is the real cause for crime against women and children in India, and how it differs from the Western countries, ma'am?
Crime against women and children. See, basically, our country is a very patriarchal society. Men, I think, have a more upper hand, and there is a change which is happening. Women are now more well educated. They are earning better, and somehow I think it's a little hard to digest for the men, especially those men who have brought up in that very patriarchal surrounding, in a family which is very patriarchal. And it is difficult for them to adjust and see a woman grow up, and a woman in a very strong position or a powerful position. So most of the crime which happens against women, I think, is only to show their power. They want to show that they are more powerful. I am more stronger than you. I am more better than you. I am more powerful than you. You know, it's more of that rather than anything else. And uh, somewhere the reason for this lies with, I would say, parents also. The way we treat a girl child is very different from the way we treat a boy child. We are kind of reinforcing those stereotypes in the children. If we show children, that if a child sees the father helping the mother in cooking, if the child sees the father helping the mother in washing the dishes or washing the clothes, maybe the mother washes the clothes, the father dries it, if when the child sees a surrounding like that, I think they change. They understand that women are equal. So tomorrow, when maybe when they see their wife asking for help, it is not so shocking to them. It's something, it's something they can adjust with, because they have seen their father helping their mother. So it doesn't seem different to them. And it is all, I think, in growing up and how the child is brought up and in the kind of surrounding that the child is seen, which makes a lot of difference. And the second part of the question, I'm sorry, you asked me.
How it differs from the Western countries, ma'am? The reason for
Okay.
crimes in India and
Crimes in India and crimes in Western countries. I wouldn't say there is no crime, in Western country. There is a lot of crime in Western countries also. And I think the reasons over there also are somewhat equal to what we are finding over here. So even there are patriarchal societies. Even there are women who treat their sons differently when compared to the girls, and it is changing. I'm very sure it's changing in our country also, and it is maybe changing a little more over there also. But the way I would say it's kind of differentiation point when it comes to most countries, I would say. It depends on how easily you can get away with it. If you can't get away with it easily, it makes a difference. Now, even in our country, I think we have laws, but how are their laws being implemented? Are we having a very, proper implementation system. Or if a case is going to drag on, if a rape case is going to drag on for 10 years, how long that is, where is the justice in that? Justice delayed is justice denied. Then the crime is going to be more easier for that person. In that 10 years, he will rape another 10 people. Correct? So I think that is what probably differentiates the crime which we are having, because the population is more, our justice system is not as effective. Otherwise, I think crime happens everywhere, and people who are getting away with crime and all these things are also happening everywhere. It's not just here. When I'm talking about this, I'm just remembering there was this recent, I think it happened some 2 years back, a very famous case where there was this college student, a male college student who raped a female college, his classmate, in the university grounds. And when the case came to the court, they said that he's a very great football player. He's a very big asset for the university. How can we punish him? Crime is a crime. It doesn't make a change that because he's a very great university football player, you don't punish him or you let him off easily or something, right? And after the big hullabulla which happened around it, then his punishment was changed or whatever. But this is how if we are going to see that a man can get away with a crime for whatever reason, because he's a man, because it is his husband, and if he rapes a person, let's just get him married to the girl. This is not the way we are going to solve this situation. I think that's only the place where we differ from Western societies. But otherwise, crime is a common factor, I think, everywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Do you agree that all the maltreated children became abuser and killer in their future? Is it only the reason is the childhood abuse?
No, not at all. Not if all the abused children become, abusers or torturers or something like that, then probably our mankind would have gone by now. We would have had an apocalypse by now. The world would have ended, I would say. Because the amount of abuse that children are facing is so high. So if all of them become criminals, probably we will not have anyone left, I would say. But on the other hand, most of the criminals, most of whom are criminals, have not had a very happy childhood. Most of them have been abused in that childhood. So not all abused children are criminals, but most of the criminals are abused children. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, your portrayal of Swarna in Birds of Prey is noteworthy and realistic, ma'am. Do you think that there may be many Swarnas, but who are silent sufferers in modern society because they cannot able to express the outcomes?
Definitely. Yes, I completely agree with that. And in fact, after I wrote the book and people had read it, I got messages from so many people whom I have no idea about. In fact, they used to search for me on Facebook, and Facebook has these other messages column. I didn't know about it also for some time. And then suddenly one day when I saw that, I realized so many women had written to me that they had experienced some kind of abuse in their childhood. And they had mentioned about how they had just kept quiet, or they had mentioned to their parents, but who did nothing about it. And it was so shocking. I did not realize that there was so much happening at that point of time. And somehow, they found a kind of consolation in the book. They could relate to Swarna, they could relate to her, what she was going through. And I think that made a big difference. Yeah.
Why do the abused children do not take revenge immediately? Why they need that cooling period, ma'am? Usually serial killers have their cooling periods. But
so how do they take revenge immediately? It's a child. They are powerless, they are voiceless. most of the child times they don't even know what to come and tell someone, you know. So recently I was reading this very beautiful comic book about, it's about a girl talking about her mental health, and you know, she is a person with depression and anxiety and how she copes with it and how her general life, and through the form of comics. And in that, she writes about one particular incident which happens to her during her childhood. And I think that's a very beautiful example to show how powerless children are. So she talks about how when she used to go to school, all the children in her class, most of the children in her class used to bully her a lot, and she never had any good friends. And she was a very good in drawing. So the art teacher in her class used to kind of appreciate her drawings a lot, and she used to feel very happy that there is an adult who's looking at me, who's appreciating my drawings. My art sir is so kind to me. And initially she's happy. Then slowly what happens is when he is appreciating her, he puts his hand on her, he pats her shoulder. She's about 14 years of age and she doesn't like it, but she doesn't know what to do. And then he tells her, see, I'm wearing a wedding ring, but nothing, you know, it's simply I'm wearing. I'm not really married. Then he tells her that, you know, why don't I draw? He used to come follow her till her house. And then he would give her a chocolate. And she would be like, why did he come till my house? She doesn't know. But it feels sometimes very flattering also that some sir is having so much of affection on you. You know, at 14 years, you don't understand anything. And then he started telling her, why don't you come in the car with me? We can have a lot of fun. You come in the car with me. Come in the car with me. He keeps on telling this. And she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know. She hates it. She doesn't want this attention, but she is not able to. It's a true story. She's not able to get out of it. So what she does, she stops going to school. Every day morning, she would wear her school uniform, leave home with her tiffin and her school bag. And then as soon as she leaves home, she would wear a hoodie. You know, she wears a jacket and a hoodie so that nobody can see her school uniform. She goes to the bookshop and reads comics. She does this for 1 week. She doesn't go to school. And after 1 week, the principal calls home and tells her mother, why is your daughter not coming and why I have not got a leave letter? That's when the mother knows the child has not been going to school. And then the mother asks the child, why are you not going to school? And then she tells, this things is what happened. And she thought she's going to get scolded by her mother. But her mother is in support of her, and the mother turns to the school and scolds the school. How can you allow such a thing to happen? Immediately, even when such a thing happens, you know, immediately what happens? The principal asks, did your daughter encourage the sir? Did your daughter wear clothes which was encouraging to the sir? That is when the mother comes back and says, my daughter is 14 years. It is not the age to give consent. Even if she goes and tells the sir, I love you, I want to live with you also, it is the sir who's an adult who should have the common sense to say no. He's in a position of power. He has no right to tell, you know, yes, I'm interested in you to my daughter, even if my daughter didn't. But even if my daughter had said that, he cannot. A child below 18 doesn't have the ability to give consent to an adult. It's the adult's responsibility to behave responsibly to the child. And that is when the school shuts up and throws the teacher out. So even I think this has happened in America, even in an American society, in an American school also, they try to point the blame at the girl, not at the lecturer, you know. So what, you know, like what you are telling, what is a child supposed to do? The child knows the adult is not going to listen to me. Child knows the asking for help is not going to happen. What is going to happen? The only thing we can tell our children is, please come to me for help. When something happens, come to me. Feel free. I will not tell you anything. I am always there for you. That's the only thing we can do, I think. But otherwise, for a child to take a stand or take revenge at that little age is not possible.
How do you differentiate serial killers from psychopath killers and sociopath killers?
I think the line of differentiation is very thin. It's more of a definition, basically, I would say. So basically, a serial killer is someone who murders people in a series, or many people. Maybe they are totally unrelated. He has his own idea in his mind why he's murdering, but there cannot seem any connection between the crimes. It's not motivated by some personal injury or something. This person did something, so I'm murdering this person, or not like that. It's a more of an unrelated. The criminal and the victim is unrelated. That's usually how it is in a serial killer. A sociopath and a psychopath is a little different. A psychopath is someone who has a psychological issue. It's someone who has no empathy. They cannot see they cannot see another point of view. They don't feel any remorse for what they're doing. They don't, these are the people who usually torture the victims or something like that. So even if you see in my story, Swarna is a serial killer, but she's not a psychopath, because she's not able to actually kill the victims. She's not able to take a stand over there. She's not able to actually go and throttle them or shoot them or something like that. So when it comes to sociopath killers, it's someone who is not able to adjust to the norms of a normal society. So a psychopath may probably be very normal in everyday life. He may go buy vegetables, cook, speak nicely to the neighbors or anything. But a sociopath is not like that. A sociopath cannot function in society. A sociopath would be someone who's a loner, who doesn't want to be with others, who cannot behave well to others. I would say that's how I think I would distinguish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you believe that every killer play a dual role? That, as you said, ma'am, in the society, for example, in your novel Birds of Prey, the killer Swarna is portrayed as a cook and as a serial killer. Is it possible, ma'am?
I think it is possible, because see, I think even with us normally, with you or with me also, we have a side to us which we don't show everyone. Yeah. So it's just that it is more in a killer, while it is a little less in us, probably. When something unjust happens, we also say, oh, how did this fellow do this? I feel like killing him. How can he do such a thing? Or anything, or you do have a very soft nature also. So maybe when you see a a killer also, when he sees a stray dog, may feel a kind of affection to stray dogs. He may be feeding biscuits to stray dogs. A person is not one thing. A person has multiple characteristics to them. And I think that is one thing I don't like about I would say usually our soap operas, the TV serials which we have. They will show a mother-in-law. Mother-in-law will always be very negative and soft. She will always be torturing the daughter-in-law. I feel that is not very true. A mother-in-law may torture her daughter-in-law also. She may cook nice kheer also. She may, she may also have friends with whom she goes walking in the evening also. A person may be multifaceted. They're not just one. And I think that is very important to show in fiction, because when you show them as only one thing, it's difficult to relate to that, because that's not the truth. All of us have multiple things, personalities, and multiple aspects to us, some of which we show out, some of which we don't even show out.
Yes, ma'am, it's true. Thank you, ma'am. The world has faced many upheavals in natures like earthquake, pandemics like COVID, but much more grave is for the disease sexual abuse. What would you consider the right solution to troubleshoot or treat this cause in society, ma'am?
I think the main thing comes to awareness. It is so important, I think, as parents or as teachers, to be aware that, first of all, something like this is there. which itself many people are not ready to accept. They feel, no, 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 this doesn't happen. Even in today's society also. Despite all this, if you ask a rich man, he would say all this happens only among the poor people, or in, or in some slums or something. It doesn't happen in our society. If you ask the poor people, they'll tell you, here we all are one family. We all live together. We will never do like this. This all happens only in a rich person's society. It is there. It's their crimes. Child abuse doesn't happen in our thing. And again, with middle class also, they are the same. They will tell either a poor it happens, or they will tell it happens in the rich. But they will not say it happens in. We all are struggling for our own lives and livelihoods on an everyday basis. Such kind of things are not things which happen in our society. I think that is the problem. We are not ready to accept that it can happen to us also. It can happen in our society also. There was this very interesting thing which I read, a very interesting. So someone during this Me Too movement, someone had written about how men are, how men are doing crimes against women, and how these things are happening and all that stuff. Immediately when they wrote that on Facebook, there were 2-3 people who had commented, saying that, don't you have fathers? Don't you have brothers? How can you write about men like this? So that girl had very beautifully written, I have a father, I have a brother who are very good to me. But it is not necessary my father and brother will be good to you. It's not necessary. If I'm going to believe my father and brother will always be good to everybody, then that is foolish of my God. Because every criminal has a sister. Every criminal is somebody's father or somebody's brother. So that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean that, my father, my brother, we can never be a criminal or never do a mistake or something. So first thing is awareness among adults that these things happen, and how are we going to help our children and protect our children surrounding us? Or if it's a teacher, how is that teacher going to make sure her classroom is safe? How is a teacher going to ensure that if any student has an issue, they can come to that teacher and talk to that teacher? That is, I think, something very, very important in a surrounding. Wherever there are children, the adults need to be more aware. And second thing I feel is we need to educate the children. One of the very, most important and most basic things are, when it comes to the personal parts of a child, we don't even tell them how to call it. How many children, can tell that this is my penis? They don't use the word because it's bad. We don't teach them that. We teach them some funny words, some baby language, anything we will talk to them. But how many boys actually can tell this my body part is called this? They don't know what it's called. So when they face abuse, to tell somebody this happened to me, this person touched me in this place, they don't know what to call the place. So first, I think the first most important thing is teaching them the correct vocabulary, teaching them what is right, what is wrong. If a child says, no, I don't want to kiss my uncle, why do we force the child? No, you have to show physical affection. You have to go and hug your uncle. You have to go and kiss your uncle. Uncle, auntie, whoever it is. Even if it's a lady also. A child should have freedom over its own body. A child must have the freedom to say, no, this person will not carry me. I don't want to be carried by this person. Nothing wrong. That person may not have done anything wrong. It's not necessary that person did wrong. That's why my child is telling. Your child may not like to be touched. Your child does not want to kiss people. It's okay. When you force your child and tell, no, your child, you will be carried by your grandfather or your uncle or your neighbor or your friend. You're telling the child that they don't have any control over their body. They don't have the right to say no. And I think that needs to change unless and until a child has the freedom over its own body, and a child has the knowledge that these are my body parts, and these particular body parts nobody can see, nobody can touch. When we tell them that, that is when they can come and tell us, "Mummy, this happened," or "Ma'am, this happened to me." I think we need to equip our children for that. And that kind of awareness is the most important thing which can bring change in society. It's happening. I'm thinking I still feel where we were 10 years back, we've changed. Where we were even 5 years back, there's been a growth. It will happen more, but we need to do more work in spreading that.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. So, what do you think, ma'am? The criminals are made or born in the society?
I think maybe 99% of the times criminals are made in the society. They're not born as criminals. Very, very rarely, I would say, in a mental condition or something, which makes them born as a criminal. But otherwise, usually, I think they are only made by society into criminals.
Next, ma'am, how do the writings of men differ from the writings of women? The way of telling the sufferings of women. Do you think men can actually depict the sufferings of women more than a women writer?
So I know that that is a very popular idea that women writers only can write about women better than men writers. Usually that is that idea. But in my, in my own, I would say my opinion, it's not true. If we say only women can write about women's suffering, does it mean that only child abuse victims can write about their suffering? Does it mean that only murderers can write about murderers? That, that means only criminals can write crime fiction.
Yes,
where do we stop? Where do we stop with that? I think anybody can write anything as long as, they should not, I think they should not take things in their own way and write it. You need to take the effort. You need to do the research, which is necessary for that. To, when you want to write about the suffering of a fellow human being, you need to research what that fellow human being has gone through. You need to talk to them. You need to meet them. You need to understand them. You need to read up about it, understand various perspectives and things. You can't just imagine this is how it must have been. I think research and taking the effort to do that research and connect with people is very, very important. If you do that, I think anyone can write anything.
Thank you, ma'am. What do you think as the worst crime you have seen or ever come across in your life?
I should say, thankfully, I'm grateful that I have not had to, come across something which is a very, very bad or a gory crime or something like that in person. But coming across, yes. So like I say, whenever people ask me, in Birds of Prey, the entire story, all the story, whatever happened, everything is fiction. But whatever, the Swarna goes through, whatever child abuse incidents or whatever gory things, people usually used to feel that it's very gory, it's very raw, Birds of Prey is very raw and all that. Wherever you found that, all that is truth. Okay, I had not fabricated anything at all, because the thing is that despite how much ever you can imagine, imagination, I think reality is much worse than that. And even in that, what I researched, I have not rewritten everything. The kind of post-mortem reports and victim reports which I read through to research for Birds of Prey is probably maybe 50, 100 times more gory, more raw than what the book is. I haven't written all that. I have not given voice to all that because it would have been so difficult for anyone to even read the book if I have actually voiced everything. So I think coming across crime, I think what I researched for Birds of Prey and what I came across was the most heart-wrenching moments of writing the book. And it kind of broke me at many places. When I read about it, many times I've had to stop everything, sit and cry, not write for a few days, and then get back to my writing. So that was, I think, where it hit me a lot.
Even I read the Birds of Prey in my MPhil, ma'am, but I couldn't proceed it for my research because I felt that it is so, what to say, I can't do that. Now I got some maturity, so I took in my PhD, ma'am.
Yeah, I thank you so much. I'm glad you read it at that time itself.
Thank
So
you.
that's what. So whenever someone tells me, oh, it's so gory, it's so raw, it's so thing, I tell them I wrote the truth. Those are the places
Yes,
where it is
ma'am.
true. I have not written any fiction because I can't imagine that much. Even I cannot imagine that much. The reality is much worse. So
at that time, I did not know that really it happens for some little girl. But now I can understand it is happening everywhere in the society.
Yeah,
so it is nothing but the realistic
reality. And all those things which I wrote, okay, I've written it as happening to Swarna, but everything did in my research. I'm not talking about everything happening to one person. You know, in my research, I saw about various things. I saw about various different kinds of things which are happening and different things. So I have just taken it as one. Swarna is just the embodiment of all my research. But she's not like in my research, it's not like one character that I researched and wrote about. There were many hundreds of cases and hundreds of things which I went through while writing it. Yeah.
Do you think punishment can erase crimes and criminals in the society, ma'am?
To some extent, but I wouldn't say to some extent. I would say to a large extent because I'm currently now living in Singapore. I think you know that, right? So
Yes,
Singapore has a nearly, I wouldn't say zero crime, but nearly zero crime. It's a nearly zero crime society, you know. Um, and the main reason for it is because the punishment here is extremely harsh. Okay. And not only harsh, the justice system is quick. You do something, you are caught immediately. And as soon as you are caught, you are punished also immediately. Within probably few months, everything is over. The person is in jail. You know, and crimes like maybe rape or violence against women or murder and all is punished extremely. And as you've got like an extreme punishment, you can't get away from it. Whoever you are, again, that also makes a difference here. Whoever you are, you can't get away from it. And the next thing, like let's say drugs, you know, in Singapore, if you're caught with drugs, you are hanged. You don't need to sell drugs. If you're just caught with drugs, you're hanged. So the amount of it's like hardly a zero drug. It's a zero drug society. Children are safe. College is safe. Universities are safe. Which is not so when it comes to other places like anywhere. Let's say America itself. You can find people, dealing drugs outside schools, dealing drugs outside universities in open. So this, I think, punishment definitely makes sure that crimes do come down. But education is also, of course, important. Education and creating awareness is definitely very, very important.
Now next, your style of writing Birds of Prey is a case in point. It was brilliant, ma'am. It greatly inspired me to read many, refer many other crime novels for my research. Do your other novels follow the same style?
So I have written 3 books till now. So 2 of which are crime novels. Birds of Prey is one. And my recently published Sleeping Dogs is also a crime novel. And apart from that, the other book which I have written, which is not a crime novel, is a historical short fiction. So it's basically historical stories. It's called Tales from the History of Mathematics, about how mathematics evolved over the years in the form of short stories. So basically, I think I like to write very crisp. I don't like to explain a lot. I don't like to describe a lot. In my opinion, my readers are very intelligent, very smart people. I don't need to explain every clue to them, or, explain how the detective did this or how the person found out this. You see, usually in movies, they have this last sequence where they sit and explain the entire crime and,
Yes, ma'am.
how did they find out and all that. I'm very sure my readers don't need it. They are very smart. And I think when you write a little more crisply, and when you believe and trust in your readers' intelligence, the story is more gripping.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when I write, I should find it very interesting and gripping. When I find something interesting, I feel my reader is also going to find it interesting. If I am going to drag and write something with a lot of explanations because I assume my reader doesn't know, then I think that is not going to work. So my writing style, I think, is a little bit, I can call it's an underwriting style, where I write lesser, probably. But
That's
I
really
think
nice,
it works.
ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. We can understand everything what you are coming to say. Thank you, ma'am. The final question is, it's an imagination question. We can keep it
Okay.
like that. How would be the world without crime? Is there any possibilities, or as there in Singapore, in India?
Um, so a society, I'm going to talk about the general world. Okay. I'm not talking about our country alone. I'm telling generally a world completely free of crime is a utopian thing. It's a very utopian concept, and it's a dream. It's definitely a very beautiful dream which we can have. But at the same time, I feel that should not be something which is manufactured by the government or by laws or something. When it happens naturally, I think it's a very beautiful thing. An example I would like to give is about this book, which is called The Giver by Lewis Lowry. Okay. The book is called The Giver by Lewis Lowry. So when you actually start reading the book, it seems like a very utopian society, a very beautiful society where there's no crime, everyone is happy, and everything is beautiful. So it starts like that. And then as you read, you understand that that whole beauty is something which is manufactured. It is manufactured in the sense, I'm saying, it's something which is forced upon people. People have been forcibly, made into it. So as long as crime is not there, or it's not happening because it is forced, I don't think it's a very beautiful dream as such. When people themselves, respect and understand, and when the mental health of people is cared for, even in case of child abuse also, in my opinion, I feel pedophilia, the abuse of children, is a mental condition. It's a sickness, I would say. People need treatment for it. They need counseling for it. They need to be helped to come out of it. In many cases, I feel that's how it is. So when it naturally happens in society, when crime naturally gets removed from society, because we respect each other, tolerate each other, we love our fellow citizens, and that would be a real utopia. That would be a real good thing. Instead of only because we are scared of punishment, we don't do crime, or only because this thing is there, we don't do crime. Let's say anyone who does, who abuses a child. Let's say there is a chip which is put in everyone's body. If that person abuses a child, the chip would break and the heart will burst. Okay. So obviously nobody is going to do, but that is such a manufactured kind of way in which you're controlling society. How if it was something which naturally happened? I think that would be the real utopia. It will be a real beauty in things.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I feel
Thank
so
you.
happy and blessed with this interview, ma'am. Thank you so much for helping me, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And thanks. It was very interesting talking to you and, you know, answering the questions because
Ma'am,
for
I
me
couldn't
also.
imagine that I am sitting in front of an author.
Oh,
It
no,
really,
come on.
really, I feel so happy now.
I'm
I need
happy.
your help and blessing always, ma'am.
Definitely. Sure. Definitely.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.